Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Adventures of a Real Estate Investor. I'm Susie.
And I'm Michael, and we're excited you joined us for this adventure.
So today's very, very special guest is Hutch the Marine Investor. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, absolutely appreciate you having me. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, no, and we are so happy you are here. And just to let our listeners know, so again, we met Hutch through the world of networking. As usual, Brian Briscoe's meetup. That meetup has done great things for not just us, but for a lot of people. But this is just to reiterate like the power of networking and how many great people you can meet there. So again, Hutch, we are super happy you are here and, just happy that we met you at Brian's, I don't know, like a year and a half ago, right?
Yeah.
Or a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope, well, hope is not a course of action, but I trust that one day Brian will understand the impact that you've made on people's life, because even just for me, to the topic we're going to talk about today, multifamily real estate. If it wasn't for Brian, I probably would have still trying to figure things out. That guy is just an amazing spiritual being, and he's just been fortunate to build or infuse himself into a solid team that is doing amazing things for the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was Susie and I's first multifamily networking thing or event that we've ever been to. And everybody that we met in the multifamily world and all of our partners and everybody like that, and a lot of investors too, came from that event. Right. And it's just incredible what he's doing. So yes, nod to Brian Briscoe there.
Yeah.
I actually get to meet up with him today for lunch.
Oh, that's really exciting.
Yeah, excited, yeah.
Oh, nice. Well, tell him we said hello.
Absolutely will.
Cool. Well, other than, visiting the same barber, Hutch, would you mind sharing our listeners a little bit about more about you and your background and why you started investing in real estate?
Absolutely. I'm not sure how much time we have. I think you want to go 25 minutes, right? I tend to be long-winded because, look, we all have a unique stories, and it's important that we tell that story. A lot of folks shy away from actually, coming on podcasts and, making different stories, making different videos on YouTube, different social media platform, because they don't feel as if, right, they have a story to tell, but we all do have a story to tell, so mine started on a really large mountain in Jamaica, right? I was born and raised in a place called Wonderbolas, which was originally a slave plantation, right? So just to get to put some perspective from whence I came to right now living in California with a house on the hill, literally a house on the hill, it's just been, it's amazing, right? And our good friend, Neil Bauer said that you cannot manage what you cannot measure, right? And a lot of us, we have to look at our life story and from whence we came, and just start challenging and see how far we can go. So born and raised in Jamaica, I had this vision of what my future could be. As a kid, I was in grade 3 reading what's called the Children's Own, which is a newspaper, mandatory reading for all school-age children in Jamaica. I remember reading this story about this young man. He was in America. He was in the Navy. He was on a ship working on an aircraft, right? And at that point in 3rd grade, I made a decision that if I ever get the opportunity to go to America, right, I want to join the military. No branch of service specific. I didn't know there were branches of service.
Yeah.
So I wanted to join the military, and I wanted to work on aircraft, so lo and behold, I got that opportunity, and I got to meet the Marine Corps recruiter, right? I was like, I don't need to see nobody else. My dad already talked you up, no shot at the Air Force, but the Marine Corps is actually tight. So yeah, my dad favored the Marine Corps, and it's exactly where I wanted to be and where I needed to be to be where I am, so I joined the Marine Corps, and 23 years later, still serving. I got 24 months to go as of this month, and it depends on how much real estate we buy will determine if the retirement is comes faster.
That's awesome, Hutch. Yeah.
Sorry. So that's a little bit about my story. We can dissect some more as we get into the multifamily space conversation.
Yeah. What made you then, where in your, journey in the United States and in the military, where does real estate fit in?
Yeah, absolutely. So look, a lot of the things that we believe, right? Well, I can only speak based on my paradigm, but I've also spoken to a lot of people as well, is that religion. Take, for example, religion. A lot of times we adapt the religion that our parents taught us, right? Parents or guardian, foster parents, whatever the case may be, they taught us that, and we adapt that. Look, if you grew up in India, chances are, right, you're going to have a religion that might not be Christian. If you grew up in China, so on and so forth, right? If you grew up in the Middle East, if you grew up in America, your religion could be based on your paradigm that you was exposed to. So I say that to say this, right? When I came to America, other than the military, one of the things my dad talked to me about was owning a piece of America, right? But now it has grown to, I need to own more of America, right? So we started in a single family space. My dad used to watch those, listen to those Carlton Sheets cassettes, right? That's back in the days. And he used to share that information with me. So that kind of helped to shape my paradigm and educate me about the possibilities in real estate. Now, so that was single family space. I could have started a lot faster in the multifamily space, but yeah, I didn't know what I didn't know because my paradigm mirrors that of a single family investors. So there's some single family investments, and also, yeah, as you know, in the Marine Corps or in the military, as you move from place to place, you buy a single family home. If you have some understanding about the way real estate works, you will buy something that you can add some value to with the hopes of maybe move to another property and rent that one out, or whenever you PCS, you can sell the property at a significant profit. So we did that. Also got into some live-in flips and also some major flips as well in the single family space. And then in 2019, actually 2018, I had a paradigm shift. I had the opportunity to walk a 55 unit down in the Florida Panhandle area, right? And I also spoke to some investors that let me know, Hutch, if you can get this property on a contract, we are interested in investing with you. And I'm like, holy crap, that was a game changer. So in 2019, we made the decision to transition from single family to the multi-family space.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that helps a lot too. Like coming with a lot of confidence. Like you have some people that are interested already. At that time, did you even know what like syndication was? Or you was like, oh, was like a JV opportunity? Were you kind of thinking, or what was it?
I had no idea how I was going to do it. But I think those are the greatest. I believe those turned out to be some of the greatest achievements, right? Because when you don't put limitations on yourself, then the sky is limit for you, right? But if you put yourself in a box where I have to do this and I have to do that, right? Sometimes you can figure it out as you go. But fortunately, fortunately, we learn a lot during the process, trying to analyze this property, which is all we came through the Michael Blanc program, which brought us to this point right now, meeting Brian Briscoe, all that good stuff, right? So I had to figure out how to properly analyze it. I had to figure out how to speak to investors, right? How to perform due diligence on the property. So prior to putting the property in a contract, I met with the owner. We're talking about some things, and he was like, "Look, Hutch, here's one of the things you're going to run into when you start doing the inspection. There are some manufactured defect that might be of concern." So we look further into it, and we decide to walk away from the property because it was going to cost as much. Pretty much, we would need to be rebuilding the entire complex. So we walked away.
Wow.
From that deal, but there was a ton of things learned in that process, and through the process, I met our good friend Bob Preston, who have been syndicating property in the Southeast Alabama, Pensacola area for a while, and he saw what we was doing, moving from flip to the multifamily, and said, "Hutch, here's some of the things you want to consider." So I started learning some of those things that he was talking about, which brought me to the Michael Blanc program of better analysis, and end up at the conference. And that's where we met a lot of amazing people in 2019.
No, that's great.
And then actually learn about this mythical word, syndication.
I'm curious. So like with both of like your pretty much like big life transitions, like you talk about how your dad was a pretty big influence, like what was that like, even talking to him about like real estate with single family homes and then moving into multifamily, like, because I can imagine he was like, oh, this is happening, you know, like everything I talked about, it's there, because it's huge. I think as a parent, like when you convey something to your child and then it happens, you know, it's like, wow, yeah, manifest.
It's crazy how that happened, right? So we was talking about single family. So it was in 2017. I was doing a PCS move from California to Florida, right? So we drove up North California and drove across the north. That we wanted to see Mount Rushmore. We wanted to see Yosemite and a couple of different cool places in the north, because we've always gone south, you know. So we drove to New York, went to Niagara Falls, and I stopped by my dad's house. My dad was telling me about this seminar that he just went to, and this guy was teaching people how to flip property with none of their own money. I'm like, oh snap, another paradigm shift, right? So now I can get into real estate more. I was going to a billet, the Navy called it shore billet, but I was going to be an instructor, right? So as long as I learn my craft, hone in on how to provide knowledge to adult, because adult learning is a whole different learning from teaching junior Marines and teaching our children, right? So once I had that craft mastered, then I would have some time for myself to create a stronger future, right? So when my dad told me about the possibility of flipping property with other people's money, oh man, it was a game changer. So I got down to Pensacola, and I never freaking listened to the radio. And for some strange reason, I was listening to this radio in my son's room, right? And Than Merrill, right, is coming to Pensacola to teach people how to flip property with no money down. I'm like, holy crap, what are the possibility? So it's like things growing and growing. So, you know, they got me into flipping. And that's when I got exposed to the multifamily space. And all these times I'm talking to my dad, and he was blown away. Like right now, he's totally blown away that I'm actually doing the multifamily. I'm in the multifamily space. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Look, I've talked to several different service members about leveraging their BAH, the basic allowance for housing, right, to advance their future as far as investing in starting a single family. But you can also buy a duplex, triplex, fourplex, which is also considered single family. I've spoken to them several times about making a transition, or actually putting themselves in a position where the money can work better for them, you know. But Athena tell me, she's like, look, they might be financially capable, but they're not at the mindset to take advantage of the knowledge that you're providing to them. And that's exactly where I was in my single family stage. I had to go through several different levels of you know, the single family space, buying a condo, buying a single family home, buying flips, buying investment properties, so on and so forth, to really see and appreciate the knowledge of what multifamily can bring to me, you know. So all this time I shared this with my dad, and he's really like, yeah, appreciating the growth, and watching and appreciating growth. And it's amazing just being experiencing that, you know. So my dad is super stoked.
Yeah, that's cool. And I just want to point something out, Hutch, is like, because your dad first turned you on to the, you know, buying flips with other people's money, right? And then you took the course, whatever, down in Florida. And then when you went to see that property in 2018, I'm sure you're like, and investors are like, hey, I'd want to invest if you get this property under contract. You're like, hang on, I can buy more than one unit. I can buy a lot of units with other people's money. And that is such a even greater mindset shift.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really cool. So, I mean, yeah, the whole progression for sure. It is all about like making sure that you're talking to the right people that you need to be talking to, or in the right rooms where the people are talking about those ideas, right? Because like once you see other people doing it and understand how it's done, and then you see a reflection of yourself maybe a little bit in those people as well, you're like, well, if they can do it, then I can definitely do it, right? So, and that just opens your mind, and then you're like, well, wait, you know, what's the next limit? You know, what's the next limit that you put? You know, because a ceiling is like a man-made object, right? And so, like, you have no limits if you allow yourself to have no limits. But it's all about mindset, and you have to make sure you surround yourself with the right people to grow your mindset.
So I call it the people that looks like me, right? So a lot of time when you hear that in different cultures or in society, what's called societal norms, right? They're talking about more so the physical appearance, right? But that's one of the things that really stood out with people like yourself, Brian Briscoe, Tim Kelly, Anthony Pinto, right? Folks who are on active duty and doing amazing things in the multifamily. Those are the people that I think look like me. They have the military experience. They share the struggles of deploying and dealing with junior Marines and having a BAH and having the VA loan and all the good stuff, right? So you start wanting to see what they're doing, how are they leveraging time, how are they leveraging their resource, how are they leveraging relationship and experience, and you realize like these folks look like me and they're doing exactly what I want to do, right? See, Thompson, what's his name? Wrote the book.
Hunter Thompson.
Hunter Thompson, right? Hunter Thompson said that, I don't believe it, he coined this phrase, but it's where I first read it in his book about raising capital. He said that the eyes will not see and the ears will not hear what the mind is not looking for. And we all have been a part of meetups where we see people doing in the single family space for years and still trying to figure it out, right? They're doing wholesale. I'm not knocking these things. What I'm saying is that sometimes there's a gradual progression, right? But you see people like Bill Allen who have been doing flips and wholesaling, who's super successful, right? Super successful. But recently you see that he's transitioned into the multifamily space because there's so much value to be have in the multifamily space, and you get to leverage people's time, experience, and capital, to advance their things that they want to invest in, or the things that they want to contribute to, like to the small community, or give more money to their church, or some major cause that they want to contribute to, or they just want to grow their capital at a more secured rate, right? Not risk-free, but a more secured rate, and also more predictable rate. And it's amazing to be a part of that community.
Yes, I am curious because you had mentioned this before, and it has to do with mindset, just how like you were talking to other Marines and you were trying to tell them how they can use like their loan and BAH. I was like, I am not good at the acronyms, but what was missing was their mindset. Can you kind of explain, like, because I'm sure you saw people who grasped onto it and then people who didn't, like, what was the biggest thing that you think would help people who are also still stuck in like that mindset to like not be able to do it, to get towards being able to do it?
I was reading General Mattis's book recently, and that's when it really, really clicked. Really, really clicked. And it's something that I knew, but he put it in words for me, right? He said that anything that doesn't have to do with making Marines and winning Americans' war is of second nature. Or it's not of relevance, right? So we see people like General Mattis, who stayed in the Marine Corps for over 40 years, just total dedication and commitment to service, right? And you find that is the case with most Marines, right? Where anything else outside of service, it's considered a distraction. I was that way as well, right? So even with now doing real estate, right, it's not a distraction. I've just learned how to prioritize my time and separate my different commitments, right? I understand where I'm at now, that in 2 to 4 years or 2 to 6 years, or whatever the case may be, depends on how long I stay in the Marine Corps after this, right? It is my responsibility, my obligation, and my duty, acronym R.O.D, responsibility, obligation, and duty, to ensure that I put myself or put my family in a position to where I can continue to provide for them. That is really important to me, right? Living a life of mediocrity after retirement, or even while I'm in the Marine Corps, because if I have 2 hours after work, right, I can spend hour and a half with my family, and I can do something for half an hour for myself and for my family's future. I can also sleep faster and wake up early at 04 in the morning, right? And 04 to 06:30 or 06. That is my time to work on myself and something for my family's future, right? And then the time that the Marine Corps paid me for, I can 100% commitment, right, to that service of, making Marines, or leading, molding, inspiring Marines, and prepping for conflict, combat, war, right? Or actually serving in those areas. You know what I mean? So having a long-term vision and not just living in life by default, right? It's super important. And when you start looking for those things, like to Hunter Thompson's point, right? The eyes will not see, the ears will not hear, what the mind is not looking for. When you start looking for greatness in your future, then you start realizing that it's your responsibility, your obligation, and your duty to create the future. Because look, none of us were born to be mediocre. And when we start being more purposeful about the future, then we are absolutely more committed to our mission. I'm a master gunnery sergeant right now. That didn't happen overnight. That comes with some hard work, understanding that the more capital, the more money I can make by increasing my commitment at work, right? Outshining anybody and anything that I need to outshine to ensure that my effort and my commitment is noticed. I have to do that because there's a significantly beneficial second and third order effect of my level of commitment of work, right? That my family and the cause that I want to invest in or want to contribute to in the future, right? I can do more of that, so yeah, great question.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that was a great answer. And like, there's so many things to pick out of that, but one of the biggest things that you said was living by default. And I love that you worded that way, because it's so many people do it. And it's like just trying to get out of that. And when you even explain how like the 30 minutes or the 2 hours in the morning, like you could even just do an hour, but the compounding effect of that is what will like create that greatness for your family and your family's future. Cause that's huge. I mean, and I also love that like your duty to serve is there, because in multifamily, I truly believe that like we are also serving all of the residents. We are serving all of our limited partners. We are serving all of the vendors. Like if we can help them also become better people, like the world can do great things. But it's having that mindset shift too of just living on default. Mm-hmm. And I really like that touched in here. I was like, wow, that's a great way of putting it, just because you can go through the motions, but like, how do you just serve beyond yourself to do that?
Yeah. So one of the things that I learned recently to continue mindset, right, is that a lot of us, we confuse thoughts with thinking. See, thoughts happen, right? Is one of those functions in your body that can be passive and purposeful at the same time, right? And the purposeful part of your thoughts, that is actual thinking, that take work. Right. So thoughts, about tens of thousands of thoughts go through a mind on a daily basis. Right. Research show that over 80% of them are negative. Right. No reason why so many folks, I think I did looking at the research a few months ago, 2/3 at the time the research was done, 2/3 of America was unsatisfied with their life. And I would speculate that maybe those 2/3 are focused more on that 80% of thoughts that comes to their mind, and not choosing to take that 20% of thoughts and make it purposeful thinking that serve us, right? And when we start having thoughts that serve us, then we start into not living a life by default, and we start to create the future.
Man, I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
No, it's true. Because even what I reflect, or like masterminds that I'm in, or any situation, when people are talking, it's like, oh, well, what if this, or this happens? And like, at the time I easily could be like, well, those are all thoughts. Like what do you think will actually happen? Like, cause we can make up 4,000 scenarios, which majority of the time are thoughts, but like, what are we pulling to actually even move forward?
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I even say like the default for military members is to think about all the negative things that could happen, right? Like that is our job, right? To be defensive and like think about all the negative things that could happen. So like for us, it might even be more of a challenge to grasp hold of that 20%, those positive things, and think about that and really focus on those instead of thinking about all the other 80% negative.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So I have not spoke about this publicly, right? But we try to take down a hotel deal, right? And it's one of those things where it's you need to know how, because going from a multifamily to hotel, right, it's a little bit different beast, because there's different ways of trying to figure out, not well trying to, but figuring out the income, expenses, and looking at comps and all the good stuff, marketing. It gets challenging. And one of the things that I end up doing was not utilizing the idea of the we call it the speed of implementation, right? So we wanted to have everything figured out because we were venturing into the small hotel, boutique hotel space, right? Because we had a good deal on the table, and we ended up losing the deal because we were looking at all the things that go wrong. We were trying to figure everything out, and we actually lost the deal to somebody who came in, had the capital, had the experience. Boom, that deal was gone. You know what I mean? So if you have a good deal, take action, right? The speed of implementation is on your side, right? So don't worry about that all the things that can go wrong. Have a 75 to 80% solution and pull the trigger, right? And chances are, when you do that, you'll be successful in corporate America, in your personal life, and also in the military as well. 80% solution, you got most of it figured out.
I love that. But the great thing is, Hutch, is like now it sounds like you actually know what you're doing with the hotels now. So like next time you have a deal that comes through, just like in 2018, when you looked at the 55 unit that you mentioned earlier, right? Like that deal got away, but we let it go because of some issues that it had, but all of the information that you've taken and learned from that, right? And you've in all the systems and processes you set up since then, right, has helped you be very successful in the multifamily space. And now with this hotel deal, now you know exactly what you need to look at and how to take action quicker on hotel deals. I'm sure you'll be more successful now in hotels. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about that.
Yeah, most definitely. Not trying to do not a hotel, but if it does come by, we looked at a ton of resources, of different resources of how to effectively run a small boutique hotel, hands-free, just hands off, right? Keyless entry, all that good stuff. It was amazing. We get ready to submit the offer and went to see the seller. It was like, yeah, I just signed a contract with another guy. Like, but it's all good.
Oh man.
Yeah, but it's so folks who are listening to this can learn. And this is something that I heard from Tim Kelly, and I believe that there's a book in it as well. It talks about the speed of implementation, right? 80% solution. You got most of it figured out. Pull the trigger.
I love it.
I do too.
That's cool.
Thank you.
Well, on that note, Hutch, let's transition to the last part of the show, which is the Adventurous 4. These are 4 exploratory questions we ask each and every guest. So the first question, Hutch, is where is one place you wish to travel to and why?
Africa. I always want to go to the motherland, right? Even though I'm a firm believer that, I won't even get into my what I think about. But anyway, they tell us we came from Africa, right? So I would like to see what we call in my culture the motherland. I like to see what the motherland look like and experience it different, right? Because when you're in a place like Asia, right, and you see those commercials about the great developments that are going on in Africa, it's a freaking beautiful place, and I would like to experience that for myself. Just like you, Michael, if you've been to any kind of professional military education school, right, some of the folks who have gone through those schools might come back and say it was a waste of time, it was this and it was that. But when you go there, right, you get to look at it from your own perspective. You get to experience it for yourself, and your experience is going to be completely different from what is being presented to you of somebody else's after action.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one of the reasons why I really want to go to Africa, to experience it for myself. Just to check out the motherland and see what it's like.
That's cool.
That is cool. Thank you for that. So the second question is, what is the number one thing on your bucket list, and how are you leveraging real estate investing to achieve it?
Right. So look, bucket list, do people talk about when people kick the bucket, right? I mean, you freaking passed you're dead, right? I'm in this pursuit. I'm in this pursuit for the best version of myself. I really am. And the biggest thing on my bucket list is to be on my deathbed. And I said this a couple podcasts, is to be on my deathbed, right? And to have the feeling that I've taken action on the things that I should have taken actions on, right? That I could take actions on. I was listening to Les Brown, and Les Brown talk about the perfect way to die, right? For a lot of folks is to be surrounded by friends and families and long generation, like great grandkids, right? Children. And that'd be good. Everyone's around you, smile, and they appreciating you as you drift off into wherever we go after that, right? But you mentioned, what if instead of your families and friends that surrounds you, it is your dreams that you could have given life to? And not only given life to, those dreams could have improved the living condition of the people that you're leaving behind, but you took no action on them. I want to be at that place when I kick the bucket. To, if my dreams come to me, they're coming to me with gratitude, saying thank you, right? Thank you for changing or improving the trajectory of the Hutchinson's bloodline and whatever bloodline ties into our family. That's where I want to be when I kick the bucket, right? That's my bucket. That's my major bucket list, because I can measure from whence I came, from growing up on what used to be a slave plantation, of walking to school bare feet, of coming home, not having a parent or guardian there to fix me a meal. I had to go get some sugar cane, pick some mangoes, whatever the case may be, to ensure that I can get something in my belly to go back to school, right? So when you can measure that to be in a place where you're getting ready to kick the bucket, you can look back at your life and say, I am pleased with the choices that I've made, right? From B to D, birth to death. That C between B and D, right, is our choices. And I want to look back and say, I have made the right choice to put my family in the greatest trajectory that I possibly could.
That's so powerful. So powerful.
Yeah, that was a great answer.
That long answer was worth it.
That's probably our best answer we've had.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
I believe multifamily would do that for us.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Yeah. So the third question, Hutch, is what is one piece of advice for someone who wants to start passively investing in real estate?
Yeah. So we talk about my transition, right? But we didn't have podcasts when I was, back in back in 2001, when I first got married, 2002, when I first got approved for I believe it was $93 loans, where I could have bought a condo, right? I could have bought a condo, and that would have expedited my real estate investing. But my mindset was I wanted a single family home. Right. But as I grew, right, we started having things like these podcasts, right? We don't have enough lifespan to gain all the life experience that we need to be successful. Right. So when we can compress that into 30 minutes, an hour, or a 3 to 6 hour book, that is amazing. Right. So we don't have to start small. See, whenever we start small or think small, it is the people's whose life it could be impacting will suffer the most. So by absorbing content like these and realizing what is possible at an earlier time in your life, right, then you can start bigger. So my advice would be start big, create a network, and you can start big. Don't put yourself in a back box and think you got to start at single family or wholesaling or whatever the case may be, right? Surround yourself with knowledgeable people, leverage your experience, leverage their time, leverage their capital, and you can start bigger than what your paradigm tells you can.
I love it.
I do too. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
And then the fourth and final question is, if you had unlimited resources available to you, how would you leave an impact?
Ooh, it's a plethora of things that I would do. Oh man, I don't even know where to start. But my thing is all surrounding education, right? I believe the education system creates employees, right?
Yeah.
But I like what Elon Musk did several years ago. And I probably should read more of this and see where he is in this experiment. But I read that he pulled his kids out of public schools, out of regular school, because of the one size fit all education. He believed that whenever you gain knowledge and experience through curiosity, then it sticks more and you're more successful. I believe the schooling system put our students in a box. And if capital was not a issue and I had unlimited resources and unlimited I can leverage the experience, leverage the time and the inspiration of others who want to see us, improve the trajectory of our children's future by ensuring that they can learn better, right? Not just being a one size fit all education. I believe that's where I would start. I would ensure that those ones who are dedicating their time to educating our children, I would ensure that they are properly compensated, because it's crazy how a doctor get paid more than the teacher who taught them the knowledge.
Yeah.
It's kind of backwards. I'm not saying that the doctor should not get properly compensated for the greatness that they do. They're pretty much doing God's work, right? Religion aside, right? The things that doctors do on a daily basis, they're leveraging the knowledge and the we call it infinite wisdom, or infinite knowledge that God put there for us. They're tapping into that, right, based on the foundation level that have been taught to them by teachers and professors, right? They're pretty much doing God's work, saving lives, right? Because you can pray all you want sometime, but if the doctor doesn't go in and infuse something, chances are you're gonna die, right? So God is working through them with their hands and the knowledge. And I would love to see the education system change by ensuring that we don't have a one size fit all education. And that would tie into, I believe, everything: creating more entrepreneur, creating more free thinker, advancing technologies by with knowledge that we're not really experimenting, because we're putting our children in a box.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you on that, Hutch. Like if Susie and I decide to have children in the future, like our whole thing is we'll be traveling around the world. Like we don't plan to ever have a place where we're actually going to be stationary, but we'll be traveling with our children, and they'll be experienced through cultural learning and other experiences like that by living in various different places around the world. So.
I was reading General Mattis's book recently, called Sun Chaos. Amazing book. I believe all service member should read that. But if you really think about the idea of a helicopter parents, right, where you always hovering over your kids and making sure they don't get hurt, whether it be emotionally or physically, right? We end up sheltering them from a lot of things that they could experiment with and experience in life. And General Mattis, to your point, as far as traveling the world and giving your children experience, his parents did that for him as well. And from a quote that I took from his book, he said, this world is a place to experience and experiment, and not to be feared. Right. And I think parents, they fear a lot, and they live those fear to their children, and the children end up growing up not experimenting and not experiencing the abundance that this world have to offer. So to your point, absolutely. If I do it all over again,
and sometimes I even see, when the helicopter parents, so much like when the child gets a taste of freedom, they just go crazy, right? They go completely off the deep end, and it's really unfortunate sometimes, so.
Right. And we think there's them becoming belligerent, but it's not. They just have just like we're seeing right now, pent up demand for travel, right? We see hotel booking going crazy up and expensive, plane ticket going up as well, right? Crazy thing, because there's a pent up demand. Same thing with your children, right? When you shelter them, they have that pent up demand, and they do things when they in their teenage age and their young adult life. Yep.
Well, Hutch, before we end the show, would you mind sharing with our Adventurous family how to get a hold of you and reach out?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, our focus is multi-family space, 50 units and above in the Southeast. So we're looking for anyone that want to join that journey, right? So I am, and Heath is as well, active on LinkedIn mostly. So you can shoot me a message on LinkedIn at Hutch, the Marine Investor. That's my name on LinkedIn. Or you can just shoot me a text at 850-466-8490. Let's get a conversation going, and we can talk about anything. I like talking about mindset. I like meeting unique spiritual being, right? My kids will tell you, I never meet a stranger. Right? I believe there's so much more that connects us than separates us, right? So there's always something we can talk about. And the more we talk, the more you realize that, look, we are all searching for a lot of the same thing, which is, living our greatest life and creating the greatest trajectory for ourselves and our family's future.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you reach out to Hutch to connect with him on LinkedIn, make sure that you mention that you heard him on the Adventures of a Real Estate Investor podcast, and he'll be sure to accept your connection for sure.
Well, thank you so much.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much, Hutch, for joining us. It's truly been a pleasure. Like, you brought a lot of wisdom to our listeners, so we do really appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. Appreciate the opportunity to talk about real estate and mindset on Saturday morning.
Absolutely.
So until next time, explore more, adventure awaits.